Thanks, man.
So here's a really funny story for a quick version of law of attraction. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can attract stuff really fast. My wife and I attracted her getting a first grade position at a job where it turns out there was 130 applicants, and most of them were actually more qualified than her. But when we did what we did, which we just visualized her because she wanted to be the first grade teacher where my son goes to school. Well, if that were to take place, the point of it is that she would be driving out of the driveway with him in the car, my son. So we just sat down and we visualized that, and we just let it go. We didn't pick it back up. Like, we didn't think it was that big a deal. Even my wife, she was kind of like, she didn't even really, okay, she'll do this. Like, I don't think she was really emotionally invested with it, but we saw the picture and we let it go. Sure enough, she got the position. Now I get to see her drive down the driveway every day. That same thing we visualized with my son in the car. And I ran into the husband of the superintendent who said, she's our girl. She's the one. And he told me later, he goes, you know, that there was 130 applicants, and there were some that had like 25 years teaching experience and all this stuff.
Yeah.
My wife only had a couple years of teaching experience. That's when it really hit me. I was like, damn, we really did something there. And
oh my God.
He said, my wife could not see anybody else but your wife. He said that was it. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. The flip side of that is when I stopped being a UPS manager, I'd already bought my house. I've got some crazy stories for you, Brad, and I'll share them over time. But I'd already bought a house.
Yeah.
And so I was doing good, and I was miserable as hell. And I quit the job. I was like, I had a degree in kinesiology. I wasn't using it. I was managing the next day air. I quit the job, freaked my parents out. But something inside of me told me, I don't care. If I lose the house or whatever, I don't care. I know something's going to come from this. And I just had this sense. I didn't visualize it very much, but I just knew. And I was in that in-between ground, you know, when we don't have a job and you're driving around and you're just doing stuff. And I happened to be around, oh, I don't know. I think I was in the Tulare Visalia area, but I heard this ad come on the radio for Evolutions, which was the new fitness and rehab facility. It was tied to Tulare District Hospital, and they were pre-selling memberships right now. You could get your membership for cheap because they were pre-selling them. And something inside of me said, call it. And I was just kind of in a space. I said, okay, I'll call it. You know, I don't know why. I just like to know about this place, what it is. I've got a kinesiology degree. Maybe I should just go, you know, check this thing out.
Wow.
So I get on the phone and the lady says, okay, hey, would you like to buy a membership? I said, no, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your history. She said, well, we were started by Jane Presnell, who blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, that's interesting. I said, because Jane started a club called Lifestyles in Visalia. And I worked for Jane when I was like 18, 19 and 20, you know. I said, wow, that's really cool. Jane did this. And she said, yeah. She said, we brought staff over actually from that, you know, that decided they didn't want to stay at Lifestyles anymore. They moved over to Evolutions. Todd Alberti is her general manager. I go, oh shit, you know, I totally worked with Todd. And she says, well, Todd's right here. You know, would you like to talk to him? Hadn't talked to him in, you know, 10, 12 years. So Todd gets on the phone. He goes, Matt, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I don't really know, bro. And he says to me, would you like to come on and be my head kinesiologist?
Oh my God, Matt. Oh my God.
Okay. So I had a job and I was the head, right? You see, but how could you know? Like, I could have skipped the phone call. Like, why did I even know? Like, I resonated with, like, my subconscious knew more than me. That universal mind said, make that phone call, see what that place is. And I was hired on the phone call. Right then and there, I was the head kinesiologist. Those things have happened.
Do you think it was fate?
I absolutely think that it was just that knowing, like that release that something was going to happen. It didn't add up the way Dad would say, like, you got to go get a job before you quit your job or whatever, you know, and why would you want to do that? Because here you are, a UPS manager, and it was a lesser pay that I was receiving or whatever. But I did it completely backwards compared to how my dad would have done it. But it was that I didn't give a shit. We have to really get to the point where we don't give a shit. You know, you just know and you believe. You don't know how it's going to happen, which drives my parents up the wall. Probably would drive your parents up the wall too. But this is the real path to freedom.
Oh, they would be ecstatic. I mean, they would be extremely excited
Not why you quit the job though, right? They'd be like,
Oh
what
my
the
God, no, no. No,
my
definitely
dad was
not. No,
my dad was
no.
irate. Like, what's wrong with you, you
Yeah.
moron? You know, like, this is everything that I've ever taught you not to do. And I was like, I don't care anymore. I was watching UPSA.
I need to get that no give a shit attitude, man. I
You
don't have
do.
that.
You do. You know, any outside circumstance that we give a shit about, we've given our power to. And the real power always comes from you just making the choice. Like, I'm going to live my life the way I'm going to live my life. And you're either going to love me or hate me, but that's your choice. You know, and it's not some far out person too. It comes from inner circle, but you really get to see whether somebody loves you for really who you are or what you do. And it's not easy. It's like I
Yeah.
said, those closest to us, they don't know love on that level a lot of times. So it'll kind of shake them up, but it's okay. You just have to let it fall, because as those things fall away, you make space for people who really love you for who you are. You're being
Yeah.
who you are, you're giving yourself permission, and then you bring those people close to you. And then you imagine a world where you don't have to be anything other than what you really naturally are. That's a less stressed world. That's an easy world at that point. That's what we're all seeking.
Exactly. No, that's so true.
This is the Neville book I told you to get. I'm going to read this to you, and then we'll get started with, this is lesson 2, is I'm just showing you the knowing, doing gap. It's a very powerful lesson. Your job is to stay on your worthy ideal. Just keep doing it. But I'm showing you this lesson just so that you understand what it is when you start it next week. But, and it's
Okay.
fun too, because the knowing, doing gap is a big deal. But I want to read this thing from Neville and
Yeah.
why I recommended Neville to you, because you talked about your health and fitness. You really have a lot of power inside of you to take care of your own health and fitness. And the stick person that I share with you in here, if you've seen him before, when I told you that, like, he's right here. He was actually invented by a doctor. And that's the whole point of it, is because everything is really originating in mind. Now, this guy Neville didn't use the stick person, but he understands that. So I'm going to read this. This is an actual case, documented case that happened with him. He said, only the most complete and intense use of the law of assumption could have produced such results in this extreme situation. 4 years ago, a friend of our family asked that I talk with his 28-year-old son who was not expected to live. He was suffering from a rare heart disease. This disease resulted in a disintegration of the organ. Long and costly medical care had been of no avail. Doctors held out no hope for recovery. For a long time, the son had been confined to his bed. His body had shrunk to almost a skeleton, and he could talk and breathe only with great difficulty. His wife and 2 small children were home when I called, and his wife was present throughout our discussion. I started by telling him that there was only one solution to any problem, and that solution was a change of attitude. Since talking exhausted him, I asked him to nod in agreement if he understood clearly what I said. This he agreed to do. I described the facts underlying the law of consciousness. In fact, that consciousness was the only reality. I told him that the way to change any condition was to change his state of consciousness concerning it. As a specific aid in helping him to assume the feeling of already being well, I suggested that in imagination, he see the doctor's face expressing incredulous amazement in finding him recovered. Contrary to all reason, from the last stages of an incurable disease, that he see the doctor double checking in his examination and hearing him say over and over, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. He not only understood all this clearly, but he believed it implicitly. He promised that he would faithfully follow this procedure. His wife, who had been listening intently, assured me that she too would diligently use the law of assumption and her imagination in the same way as her husband. The following day, I sailed for New York. All this taking place during a winter vacation in the tropics. Several months later, I received a letter saying the son had made a miraculous recovery. On my next visit, I met him in person. He was in perfect health, actively engaged in business, and thoroughly enjoying the many social activities of his friends and family. He told me that from the day I left, he never had any doubt that it would work. He described how he had faithfully followed the suggestion I had made to him, and day after day, he had lived completely in the assumption of already being well and strong. Now, 4 years after his recovery, he is convinced that the only reason he is here today is due to his successful use of the law of assumption. That's Neville. That's the type of stuff that he really talked about. So you see that faith, like I just had that faith in that idea that I was going to find a job. I knew something, I just felt it. You really feel that faith. And you know the difference between, you can't bullshit yourself. Like, oh, I feel it, and you don't. And the meanwhile, you're having the thoughts like, what if things get worse? What if things get bad? What if, like that stuff, you just have to just let it go as fast as possible and just know that the thing's going to happen. There's a lot of power of that. Like the guy disconnected the 28-year-old and he knew that it was going to work. But then he actually incorporated an exercise where all he saw was the doctor going, it's a miracle, it's a miracle. It's a small scene that he kept seeing. And he just kept feeling that and kept feeling that. And you can't stop it. Neville, if you read Neville, I think you would love him. He'll tell you that there's nothing on earth that can actually stop it. Once you really get the feeling going, there's nothing that can stop it, Brad.
I'm gonna get that. No, I'm gonna get that book. Like
yeah,
today.
It's really good. This is what it looks like here. Now, I think I might have sent it to you in Audible form because I listened to it too. It's actually all 10 of his books in one book on that one right there.
Oh wow.
But they're really, really good. And it just brings you back to that, oh, what the hell am I doing? Like the moment you're feeling bad, you're creating. Like we just got to stop and say, you know, is this who I want to be? Is this what I want to get? You know that the answer is no. So just stop it. Even if you can't springboard over to make the imagination of what you want, at least if you stop and then just listen to music or do something that puts you in a good vibration, as you said, watch Bob, you know, watch your video or whatever, give yourself permission to do that. You know, you've chased, you know, your tail long enough trying to dot all your I's and cross all your T's. And you realize that these are the results that it actually gets you, you know, where you're at right now. You know, when you've experienced a lot of stress and anxiety and all, that's what it actually gets. So just do something different. Just let it go. Because if you stay in the state right now, you know for a fact that you can look up in 5 years or 10 years, you're still going to be in this state.
Yeah.
You know, so just change the damn thing and give yourself permission. And your paradigm is going to scream at you. It's going to be like, what about, you know, whatever, mom and dad, or, you know, you're supposed to this, just the hell with it. The hell with it. Let it go. You want to be happier. You want to feel better, right?
Exactly.
So here it is. This is the knowing doing gap. This is a really cool lesson. It's probably the most referred back to, if not the terror barrier, referred back to lesson in Proctor Gallagher consulting, you know, in the coaching that we do. It's really cool because you trace back through your actions. You're going to see how you find your actions by writing something out and then realize that that's something that you're believing that's making you do that, but that's getting you your old results. And then you begin to change that. You begin to change that behavior, like what results would get me, or what actions would get me the right results, you know, what I want. And then you realize it's going to be uncomfortable, but you just keep doing it because it works every time for every person. There's an enormous difference between what you know and what you do. At this point in our life, we've never been more educated than what we are right now. So we have so much in our conscious mind. We have so much information, but we don't access it because we access that information based on what we think we are, based on what's built into our paradigm. Persistence. There's an article that comes along with this when you click over on the knowing doing gap. It gets so mixed up. I want to share this with you because we say persist. Well, I'm going to tell you, it matters what you persist in. You don't want to persist in insanity, you know, like I'm grinding away and I'm grinding away. You've done enough of that in your life. What you want to persist in is creating the vision and feeling the vision and then taking new action. That's really what it is. But Napoleon Hill said that in the article. He said, there may be no heroic connotation to the word persistence, but the quality is to the character of man what carbon is to steel. You know, it's what gives you that ability. It's that combination of persistence and faith, you know, that are going to get you to go out there and do it. But if you don't have the faith with the persistence, that vision for what you want, if you're working with a vision that's not going to work, then your persistence just becomes insanity because it's just going to continue to show you over and over again what you're truly believing, your faith. Be faithful in what it is. Understand that this is the way the thing works. This is why you study thinking into results so much, because you're changing this base paradigm for yourself about what really is going on in the world. It's not about all the things that you go and do. It's really about feeling something and then doing something. But the purpose of this lesson is to help you become aware of what you already know how to do to reach your goal and what you're doing instead, because you're replacing that behavior with something else. Then begin to take the action that moves you towards your goal. If we all did the things that we're really capable of, we'd astonish ourselves. Edison said that. It's a quote in here.
Love that.
You know, did you know he only had 3 months of formal schooling? And you know, the guy, I mean, there's a light above my head right now. He really changed our lives. He did.
I did not know that.
There's an interesting story of after just a few months of schooling that they actually said, you know, he was he didn't have the mental faculties to go through school, and his mom was reading the letter, and I don't know, I'm just the best paraphrase I can do. I don't know if she was emotional or not. My wife was sharing it with me, but she actually, I think he said, "Mom, what are you reading? What are you doing?" And he, instead of her telling him that this negative thing was happening, she said, "Oh, honey, I'm just so happy that your school has said that you're too capable to go there anymore. Like you have too much, like you're too smart, or you're something like along those lines."
I love that.
And it just holding that view, you know, the guy really felt that way about himself. Meanwhile, the school, if he would have bought into that and the mom would have bought into that, you know, I mean, he wouldn't have changed our lives the way that he did. And his, speaking of persistence, he resonates with me because I think it took him 10,000 attempts to make that first light bulb, the incandescent light bulb. The filament in the middle was the hardest part. But he just kept doing it. He kept doing it and kept doing it. He would go into a dreamlike state of what he would think would work, and then he would go try it. Somebody was interviewing him at the time. They said, "Well, you know, what if you hadn't succeeded? You know, like what would you do?" He goes, "Well, I wouldn't be wasting my time on an interview with you. You know, like I'd still be doing it." And there's the persistence. Like he had the vision and the belief, and you're committed to doing it no matter what. You know, he was so committed to it that he would have been doing it for the rest of his life if he hadn't succeeded. So what? You know, he was just taking his action. He felt good about it and he kept doing it. He felt good. The truth is though, like I said, you can't stop it from happening. For him, it was a very big act of persistence to give 10,000 attempts.
Absolutely.
A lot. So what you're going to learn in lesson 2, if you want to make permanent changes in your life, this lesson's going to help you. Here are the 3 things that you're going to learn: how to turn a negative behavior into a positive behavior, a repeatable process to change any habit. That's why it's the knowing doing. A strategy to convert negative habits into positive results. Yeah, we just step into the mind in a small way because it's lesson 2. We break it down into 2 things. Conscious mind is what you know, and the subconscious mind is what we do and who we are. That's what it really, and that's what's controlling the show. In this lesson, and for the purpose of this lesson, for the purpose of life and everything that we're doing, you can say that your subconscious is in control of what you do. You can consciously choose to do something, but you won't continue to consciously do that thing over and over and over again unless you have a strong feeling about that in order to change the habit, because it takes too much work. You know, like I said, you flex your gun, you know, you can totally just flex it, you can squeeze it. And I say, "Hey, okay, grab your pin." And then you grab your pin, but you grab your pin based on some kind of thought or feeling that you have, like, "Oh, Matt's going to say something. I had to take a note or something." But then I go back and I say, "Well, did you stop and think about flexing your arm during that time of grabbing the pin?" No, because that's built into your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind knew exactly how much bicep, tricep, forearm, fingers. I mean, so many muscles are being activated in that moment. You go right to the pin and you grab it, and you never think twice about the muscles that you're squeezing. Versus when you flex your gun, you think consciously, "I'm flexing it." You didn't come into this world knowing how to do that. You hold a rattle up for a baby or a pin or anything like that, and you say, "Grab it," and you see that their hands are all over the place. We all did that because they were building the program that you now have. When you say, "Oh, I got to take a note," you grab the pen, you do so much different stuff. Like my speaking right now, I didn't come into this world knowing how to do this. Now I want to convey an idea and the words just flow. We all have that built into us. That's the 96 to 98% of what you're doing, habit in the subconscious. So the subconscious is responsible for your doing. Consciously, we would have to go back to that space where we create the habit anew, but that's the uncomfortable space. There's persistence. Continue to do that, because you will build the thing into there. You'll build the thing into there where you'll, like I said, you're just spitting your copy out. You're contacting people in a way, it gets you the results that you want. It's always going to be uncomfortable at first. Understanding there's an enormous difference between what most people know and what they do. It's hopeful. Rarely do we need to learn more to achieve our dream. Bob's been doing it for 60 years, and he says it's only on very rare occasions that somebody actually had to go out and learn something more. Most of us know how to do all the things we need to know to get really, really good results, to get the results that we want.
Yeah.
The conscious mind is connected to the world around us through our senses. You're going to find in this lesson that he makes a very simple example of how we're taught to live through the senses. Pay attention, look here, quit looking out the window. We constantly get that stuff brought into us, but our senses, they're not our creative faculties. They're not going to get us what we want. The senses can only tell you a little bit about what is happening now and what's happened in the past. That's all. And if we let those make us emotional, then they continue to create the same cycle over and over again, because all they're telling you is what's going on right now and what's happened in the past. But your imagination, that's the thing that you can springboard forward and really get involved in something that you want. You can feel something different, but we're taught to not do that. Once you start to get in school, it's like, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Heard it over and over and over again until you go, oh, when I'm on an imaginative ride, that's just for kids. Little kids do that, and that's great, and that's cute. But I don't do that because I've been trained to not do that. Got to let that stuff go. It's time to get back into the imagination, just like kids. And in kids, if you see, it's natural for them. They don't naturally say, I want to imagine a situation that I don't want. And they actually imagine being a superhero or a police officer or fireman or whatever. And then they act it out and they have a good old time with it. It's very natural for them. It becomes programmed in that you stop doing that. And now you start to imagine worst case scenario. This could get worse. This could get bad. Not realizing the effect that that has on us in our lives. The subconscious mind is the part of the mind that expresses whatever is impressed upon it. And that I want to say this, maybe it's for myself, but I always overcomplicated the impressing. We're impressing on the subconscious all the time. Your subconscious cannot reject anything. The moment you become emotionally involved with something, that's an impression. And the question is whatever you're becoming emotionally involved with, is it what I want or what I don't? That's all. It's not hard to impress the subconscious. The moment that you feel something, you're impressing subconscious. The moment you impress subconscious, like feeling is a word that we invented to describe the vibration we're in, you go into a vibration. You're causing things to happen in your world. You're attracting some things, you're repelling some things, but it happens right in that instant. That's the key of it. Really, that's the power of this world that we can't see. We're not taught about in school, but it's really making all the things go along all the way to the point that you can make a feeling, or let me say, you can say words, you can do all the right things, but if you don't feel it, it's just not going to happen for you. You're not going to get the results. You just see it. It's like telling somebody good job when you don't feel that. That's weird. Like, that that's a really weird thing, whether somebody's done that to you or you've done it to somebody else. That's the disconnect. So the actions don't matter. The actions only matter when they're in harmony with what you're feeling. You feel it. That's the subconscious thing. It's the most powerful thing that we do. And it's responsible for your doing. So for the purpose of this lesson, you could say the subconscious mind is in control of the doing. For the purpose of life, you can just say that. You consciously can tell yourself to do something. You need to do that to create a new habit. But your subconscious, you've got to get it programmed in there to get the results. When you're taking the action out of habit and you're not having to think about it, it's easy for you. And that's what you're doing, again, 96 to 98% of your day. So a habit's an idea that's fixed in a person's subconscious mind, and it causes them to do something without any conscious thought. It's a very powerful statement. I'm going to share another one with you. Habit is just belief expressed in behavioral pattern. That's all that it really is. You believe something and it causes you to go out there and do something. Belief is something that you don't even have to think about, like it's built into you. A paradigm is a multitude of habits. It's the programming that causes our behavior. You can say to yourself, paradigm is the programming that I have that's responsible for my results. That's what it really is. It's at the subconscious. But at times we do things we do not want to do. We get results we don't want, but we do it anyways. This is because of the paradigm in the subconscious mind that controls our actions or behaviors. A common error is trying to change results by changing behavior. When this happens, the change is generally temporary. New Year's resolutions, they're all coming up. Biggest one is health and fitness. People don't believe that that's going to happen, and they don't put any weight into the belief side, changing habit, changing belief. So they go out there and they take the action and take the action. But if the belief isn't changed, the results are very temporary. We know most people abandon that stuff very quickly. But if you're changing somebody's belief along the way, they'll do it forever. They'll keep going. They'll keep seeing that positive result, and they'll keep taking that action, you know? And then you get reinforced in the world. As you start to see it manifest physically in your world, it builds your belief even more and faster. That's cool. But it has to start with us. So paradigms, they're very tricky. They don't know the difference. It's the subconscious just doesn't know. Its main goal is to keep you alive. So when you start changing things, your behavior dramatically, that's when you get shook up, you know, and your paradigm really starts offering up a lot of stop ideas. Basically, I guess I could call them. Stop doing that. A paradigm will talk you out of doing the very thing that you want to do. So don't wait till it's time to do the thing to have the conversation, the feeling by creating
the biggest enemy. Yeah, the biggest enemy.
Yeah, you'll lose. And I know this because I went through this process too. I was supposed to go speak. I had already gone and spoke. I have no idea what I really got involved with, but I stepped out when I first became a coach. I went and spoke in front of my brother's real estate team. And I got through it, and I was proud of myself for getting through it. I was probably more emotionally involved with just getting through it, but I wasn't a speaker. But then my brother said, hey, you know, come speak again and he was the president for Keller Williams around here. And so he had a big group. He had a big group of real estate agents. And I was like, cool, I can do that. And I just blew it off, and I kind of created this thing that I was going to go for. But it started to have its way with me. Like, this is not going to be good enough. People aren't going to understand this. I didn't realize that this conversation was happening inside of me. People are going to reject you is what I was basically saying. But I just didn't deal with it. Instead of seeing the people actually get the information and have the light bulb, the thing that I'm in love with, like, oh my gosh, I could do so much better. I have the ability to control the results in my life. Like, I love that response from people. I love that response when I get it from you. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't take the time to build that. So before I went out to go do this speech, whatever you want to call the thing, before I went to present, man, Brad, my paradigm got a hold of me until I got physically sick. I was throwing up. I ended up having to call my brother and tell him I couldn't come. I left him high and dry. I was like, bro, I can't come.
Oh my God.
And I knew it. And that's how powerful it is. Like, it will just shut you physically down. And that's why we don't wait until it's time to do the thing, to have the conversation.
What do you do to stop it in its tracks? Like,
you just stop getting emotionally involved in the thing that you don't want. And then, you get emotionally involved in what you do want. And again, you have to learn to disconnect from the results too. So what if all the real estate agents would have rejected me? Like, that should have no bearing about how I feel about what I do and who I am. But we've been taught to live that way, Yeah. So what? Just disconnect from it and go take the action. But you have the conversation before with yourself. Like, you get in that feeling place of when I interact with one person or 100 people, they all get this idea that it really feels good. Like, oh my gosh, I've never heard this information before. This is very powerful. I love what he's sharing. I love this information. I'm going to take it. I'm going to use it. Change my life. I'm feeling great. I feel that beforehand and keep feeling that beforehand. So when you get up there to take the action, you get to experience that. If you haven't built that, you won't even know it when it's out there. You might say something and they might, look like, whoa, like, and you might look like that, like, oh, they're interpreting that I'm an idiot, because you didn't take the time.
Oh, exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you take the time, then again, somebody else might be like, like this is bullshit, but you don't care because you could be thinking like the person thinks that was amazing. And you just keep fueling yourself to take the action that way. The more you take the action, the more you see yourself doing it, the better you're going to get at it. So persistence, back to it, it's the key. Give yourself grace and keep pushing forward toward your new behavior. It's never failure unless you stop. When you stop taking action in the world. And so the world can't give you a reaction. We call that results. When you stop getting results, you can't correct anymore. You know what I mean? Like you just can't do that anymore. And that's what we're made to do. How you learn to say your name, walk, talk, write your letters. You took an action and then you got a little better. As soon as you got better, you overwrote the last programming, and it's almost like it disappears. Your body understands a successful attempt. And then you just keep doing that until it becomes automatic for you. But you're never going to get that success if you stop taking the action. So it's never failure unless we stop. Don't care if it takes 2 months, 2 years, whatever. You just disconnect from that. Who cares? Everything that you want is on the other side of this new behavior that we're about to discover. I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Most common mistakes is to operate only at the behavioral level. Again, behavior, it makes sense why people do that, because we do with the action, the behavior is causing the reaction that gets the results. But we have to take a deeper look at it and say, what's causing my behavior really? Delete habits, reprogramming the subconscious along with your behavior is the key. What's causing your behavior is subconscious. It's feeling. It's where your paradigm is. We have to change that as we do that. So as you go do your lives, as you copyright your stuff, keep having that conversation with yourself. Keep having that positive conversation with yourself. When you recognize the negative conversation, it doesn't serve you. Always let it go. When you have the negative conversation, you're actually reprogramming yourself to make this a struggle, a grind, because you're going to go out and get the results. You're going to see that. You're going to be ready to see it, and you're going to have attracted it, into your life. So it never serves you. Every time you feel it, just let it go. Let it go and get back involved in the process.
Exactly.
You can do anything. That's lesson 1. That's what you're going through right now. Science and theology have no idea what you're really capable of. The only thing that they can the only conclusion that they can arrive at is that you're infinitely capable. So what's the behavior that will move you toward your goal that keeps showing up for you? What thing is popping up on your mind? Like, if I would just do that, it's a good question to ask yourself. And then what am I doing instead? I have a program that I'm creating right now. Some people can't pay $1,000 to go through this with me. And what I'm doing is taking these lessons, lesson 1 and 2, and creating a $47 program that people can go through on their own. And what I'll find is that I've not really created a paid program without me being present there before. So it's a foreign place for me. And I'll find at the end of the day, oh shit, I didn't take action toward that. I didn't work on my program some today. So you know what I mean? And I see it like, what's the behavior that showed up for me? Well, I got down into the nitty gritty of it all and I started doing a bunch of other shit. I shouldn't have, like I have to get myself emotionally involved with this program, changing people's lives for a very little amount of money. Something positive, right? And then continue to do it, because that's going to make me actually take action toward the thing. You're going to find that we figure out how to fill the day with other things, and we fill the day with other things that we know ourselves to be, that's natural for us to do. But those natural things, from this point of view, it's always going to continue to get the same results. Like for me, it's the program isn't done. I haven't put the program out, so I have to get involved in this other feeling, thinking process to get me to take that action and stop doing, who knows, maybe I spent too much time on the phone with somebody, or maybe I did something else, when I should have cut the conversation short. Whatever, you're going to find that too. It's good to ask yourself that question. What behavior will move me toward my goal that keeps showing up? It keeps bubbling up. By the time you get to this lesson, you're going to have been emotional with your goals. So you're going to have been triggering that to show up. Those feelings are going to be showing up. And then just check it out. What am I doing instead? What's not so important? What's not moving me toward that goal? So the worksheet What you're going to do is you're going to write out a situation that's not going the way that you want, or something that you want to improve. You know, it just look at it the way that something, it's easy to find the stuff that's causing us. It's abrasive. Write it out. Realize it. You know, you don't need to hide anything. You get the detail of it out. Like, what's going on? Put your feelings in. What you're feeling at that moment when you write the situation out the way that you don't, you know, you're not getting the results that you want. It's okay. Just spit it out. But then you take that situation and you write it again. But the second time you write it exactly the way that you want it to be. If it was as perfect as you can imagine it being right now, like, write the situation out. Identify all your actions. It tells you go under there and underline your actions in both stories. Underline all of the actions and then label your actions based on your goal that you created in lesson 1. Is this action moving me toward that goal or not? And we call them productive actions or non-productive actions. Because remember, your actions are going to be indicative of what your programming is, right? So you're just kind of flushing it out. So you label them productive actions and non-productive actions. And then you go back and you look at your non-productive actions and change them for productive actions. You can say, I could do the complete opposite, or I can just fill this in with something that I know that's going to move me toward my goal. And remember, thinking and feeling is also an action. If you're feeling like shit and it's not going to work for you, like you had that written out. It's like, in this moment, I need to feel like,
if you're feeling tired,
it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to go great. And even if it's not great in this particular situation, if I continue to feel that it's great long enough, it'll be great in the next situation, or maybe the situation after that. But I'm committed to take the action like Edison. You know, I'll do it 10,000 times if it's necessary. I'll die trying. I don't care. You know, just keep doing the thing. Answer the question at the end of it all. If I turn all my non-productive actions into productive actions, would I get the results that I wanted? It's powerful. Why are you doing it? Right? Like laying your head on the pillow at the end of the evening after doing your things, like you did all the productive stuff, feels good, right?
Yeah.
And break it down very small. If you put enough of those days together, are you going to get what you want? Man, we just closed the gap between what you know and what you do. How to get your big goal. Got it right here in this lesson. Nailed it. So what should I do? Decide you're going to do your new behavior. If you really want to lock it down, Brad, at this point is where we start bringing in the accountability. Accountability is the insurance policy for success. And that's not that you're accountable to you. You need to be accountable to somebody who's going to hold your feet to the fire. Say, hey, Brad, did you take your actions today? Did you take your actions? I don't give a shit what your results were, you know, as long as you took the actions. That's really, really what locks it in for us. Know that this behavior will get you the result you desire, and then just surrender to the process. Don't care about your results, okay? Just surrender to the process of taking the action all the way that you did when you were a little kid. You were surrendered back then. You didn't care about the results. You didn't bitch about yourself not being able to do anything, you know, from the ages 0 to 5. You just kept taking the action. And ultimately, you learned so much during that time. Hold the image of the reward for making your new behavior a habit. And I read my card, my bookmark card to you, didn't I?
I think you did. I think you did.
I think it's really powerful to read it again and again. It's in lesson 10. It's an article that goes along with it, but it's so powerful. I wrote it on the goal card, or on the 3x5, my bookmarker card, because it's the golden lane. It's the golden place, you know, that we want to get to. Any resolution or decision I make is simply a promise to myself that isn't worth a damn until I've formed the habit of making it and keeping it. And I won't form the habit of making it and keeping it unless right at the start, I link it with a definite purpose that can be accomplished by keeping it. Any resolution or decision I make today has to be made again tomorrow. And it not only has to be made each day, it has to be kept each day. For if I miss one day in the making or keeping of it, I've got to begin again. But if I continue persistence, the process of making it each morning and keeping it each day, I will finally wake up some morning a different person in a different world. And I will wonder what has happened to me in the world I live in. My resolution or decision has become a habit. I don't have to make it anymore. It is a part of me and my world. That's why we do it, right?
Oh man, love that.
Get quiet, be still, hold a clear image of your goal achieved, and follow your heart. If you're doing that process right there, you're going to get it all the time. And I tell people, don't follow your heart if you haven't done the first parts. Getting quiet, be still, and hold that clear image. Because what you're going to be doing throughout your day is holding an image of your old self and why it's not going to work for you. So don't follow your heart because it's going to take you there. But if you've done the time and the work and to see it and feel it, remember the small thing that I shared about Neville? It's just a small scene. Just, whatever your scene may be, it might be an interaction with your parents, it might be with your wife, it might be something. Just hear it being repeated over and over again until it takes on those tones of reality. It really starts to feel that way. At that point, you have full permission to follow your heart because you've felt it and you're feeling it regularly. You're also taking the time that anytime you're feeling something different, you're just quick to just drop it. Just drop it. There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. I don't know if you watch The Matrix. Have ever watched the movie, right?
Love it.
The more you get into thinking into results, the more the Matrix really starts to make sense. Is that there really is a difference. And there's a lot of people out there in the world that will consciously know this stuff and might tell you like they know it and they know it, whatever. But you'll actually know people, how they're programmed based on the results that they're getting. So somebody coming up to telling you the thing, oh, I know it. But you have to look at their results because you can determine at that point whether they're knowing the path or they're walking the path. And you want to be somebody that walks the path. You want to mimic people that are walking the path too. You're going to find that they take an action that really inspires you because they don't give a shit. They just go out there and do it. And for guys like us, Brad, that have had that self-critical so long, it's very freeing to see those guys like badass. I use Trump all the time. I don't care politically if you like him or not. It doesn't matter. The guy just takes his action over and over and over.
Absolutely.
He really, really does, and I'm so impressed with that. He doesn't ever stop and say, is this possible for me? He just answers the question, do I want it? And then just goes. He just goes toward it, My parents can't stand it. They hate when I say that stuff. But I don't care. Disconnect if you don't like his tweets, The dude goes out there and does stuff that's absolutely, he'll walk into any boardroom in the world and go,
exactly.
I got this.
He gets shit. Yeah, exactly. He gets shit done, dude. I totally inspired. I mean, he's so inspiring, right?
Mm-hmm. That's it, brother. That is lesson 2. It's the knowing doing gap. Isn't it fascinating how you trace it out in a story of your actions? Because your actions are going to be indicative of how you're programmed. And so then we go and we change those actions and you hold the image that you've created in lesson 1. And then you start reprogramming yourself right away. So you spend this next week getting emotionally involved in your goal. Just keep doing that because you're doing really good work. I don't know if I shared this quote with you, but absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It does. Does that make sense?
Say it again. That was really
absence
good.
of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because you don't see something physically showing up in your world, like in lesson, doesn't mean that stuff's not happening. It absolutely is. You're programming yourself. And then you're going to have that feeling so strong after doing it for 2 weeks that you're able to take it over into this knowing doing gap and still hold that feeling. Now we're changing your actions. That's why I think thinking into results is such a powerful program, because we don't wait all the way to lesson 12 and go, ta-da, now you can go get the things that you want. It's right in your first month. Like everything starts to happen right in your first month. If you dive into the program, you just do what Bob's telling you to do, you're going to get phenomenal results in just a 1 month, what's my word? Exposure to the program. Just a 1 month exposure to the program is so powerful.
Yeah. No, I have to. Sorry, but no, I have to do the homework, man. I'm really behind. And, watching the videos and and doing the and writing out the doing the PDF.
Yeah, and if you miss a day, the thing that's going to get you back on track faster is to not beat the hell out of yourself. So what? It happens. Days get monkey wrenches thrown in, right? It's okay. It's not worth your time to beat yourself up for it. You know, like you want to do it. You want to get into the action of doing it because you love the results that it gets you. You feel good. You get into the vibration of your goal. So you go back to being a kid again. Like if you wanted to ride your bike better or run or do anything, you didn't do it because you had to, and you didn't knock the shit out of yourself because you didn't do it on any particular day. You would steal away every moment that you could to do it because you were in love with it, right? You really, you were in love with it. You know, you had a vision. All right, brother, I got to bounce. Jeff is on the other line.
Perfect.
Any other questions for me as you go through this?
Yeah. So right now, so my homework is
still a worthy ideal. You just stick to your worthy ideal. Okay. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. You're forming the habit of doing these lessons daily. Make sense? I'll tell you really quick before I hop off. You know why you do this? Because Bob understands it. He didn't understand why people didn't change when he handed them Think and Grow Rich, when it really changed his life. Well, what he did was he read Think and Grow Rich every day. He still does. 60 years later, he still reads that book every day. But by doing it, he realized over and over and over again, that's what made it change for him. The other people I handed the book, they read it and they're like, yeah, I understand what he's saying, but they didn't program it into the subconscious. So it didn't actually cause their behavior to change. For him, he accidentally just said, okay, I'll read this book every day. Do it every day.
Because like, yeah, I know, because like I missed a week, but now I have to get back into this, you know?
Do it.
Yeah. And also, when should I work on this assignment, Matt, this part that we looked at?
You will start next week. So next week, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into a worthy ideal, and I'll just talk to you about what worthy ideal really is, you know, why you're doing it. You get to hear me talk about your goal and how to feel it again. So all I go is I facilitate a worthy ideal, I facilitate the knowing doing gap, and then I facilitate a worthy ideal, and then I facilitate the knowing doing gap one more time. So you get to see both of them, experience it through me. What's happening during that process is you're going to hear different things from me because you're changing. You're going to hear different words coming out of me. You know, you're going to resonate with more stuff. But I just facilitate those two lessons back and forth, and then just talk to you about, like we did in the beginning, you know, we talk about what you're going through and what it's all about. Perfect. All right, brother, I better get.
All right, man.
Anytime, reach out. Hey, Brad, if you want me to answer a question, a lot of times, go ahead, and if it's not too long, just peck it out, because sometimes I'll be looking at a text message and I'll only get to read part of it, but that's cool because I get it. And versus sometimes I can't listen to a voice message, but I really love the voice message.
Okay.
Too. So if you've got a specific question or something that you want answered or something you're dealing with, peck it out into a text message. And that way I can kind of like just glance at it quickly. A lot of times I'm doing the thing where I'm working with somebody, but I'll glance at something really quick and I'll start.
Got it. So, you're right. Yeah, it's gonna be
no worries, man. I love the voice recordings because they're personal. You know, it communicates so much better. There's inflection in the, you know, voice, and you get what somebody means, versus when you're typing something out, you lose all that communication. But you know,
exactly.
If you want something specific or something like that, you know the difference. If you're just sharing your heart and a feeling like that, by all means, hit your record button and share that too. But I can get back to you a little bit faster and a little bit better sometimes if I can just read the thing. I know who you are too. You know, I know your messages are always sent with kindness and love, and I'm always expecting that from you. So
thanks, man.
All right, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Oh, when you get a chance, send me the recording, yeah, so that I can then I'm putting it all in a folder, so that's what I'm doing. But
cool. We'll be able to go back on this stuff, and you'll be able to use it. And you're going to be amazed how much things change in a month. You'll go back and watch yourself and be like, wow, I've changed so much.
Absolutely.
All right, brother.
Thanks, man. All right, man. Appreciate it.
You too. Have a good one.
You too.